This is part 7 in a series of videos in which I'm developing this. It is the main board out of an ADM-3A dumb terminal. As you can see, very large board, a lot of ICs on it, totally discrete design, there's no microprocessor on here, anything like that. And this is pretty much the entire system, so it's all discrete, mostly TTL logic. And in the first 6 videos I went through getting this design from the schematics that I had, trying to sort out exactly how the schematics were arranged, dealing with various errors that were in the schematics, and getting it into the CAD system, and then trying to duplicate the board layout to make it as true to the original as I could. I have included an extra connector so that a new keyboard can be added if required. That's mainly because the likelihood of being able to find the original keys is fairly remote, so I wanted to make sure that this could be completed. Now I'm going to show the assembly of this board over the next few videos and how I'm going about testing it. You shouldn't normally need to go to this amount of time and trouble testing the board when it's been assembled, but because this is the first time one of these reproduction boards has been assembled, obviously I need to do quite a lot of testing on it. Not least because a lot of the circuitry is kind of optional. It's depending on how the board's configured. So for example, the baud rate generator, I need to check all the clock frequencies, all the baud rates to make sure that's working. All features of both RS-232 ports, the video, all that sort of thing I need to test in quite some detail. So I'll go through it block by block, and I'll go through it in some detail over the next few videos. Let me know if you want to see even more detail or if you want less. Because I will need to install all the ICs at some point, and I intend to use IC sockets, the best time to install the sockets is right now, before I put any other components on the board. So that's what I'll do first. It's by far the biggest task in assembling this anyway. So once that's out of the way, I can focus more fully on testing the board. So first step is I'll get all the IC sockets inserted into the board, get them soldered in place, and then we can start looking at testing the various parts of the system to make sure that it all works as it's intended to. So this will be a bit of a tedious process, so I'll speed it up and play a bit of music while I'm doing this. Okay, that's all the IC sockets inserted. Took about 10 minutes. What I'm going to do now is put a board over here, flip it over. I'll get all these soldered into place, give the board a quick flux wash. That'll be the vast majority of the soldering done. The rest is all discrete components, and I can then start fitting the discrete components and testing each of the circuit blocks as we go I'll probably do a separate video for each major block. As I say, if you want to see more detail, then let me know. But next step, get all this soldered up. Okay, that's all the IC sockets soldered into place. I gave a quick view through the microscope, very narrow field of view on the microscope, so I only showed a little bit of it, give you some sort of idea. Very tedious and boring watching soldering, so I won't show too much of that. But they're all the IC sockets are now soldered in place. Total of 2,140 connections, and that's spread across 86 14-pin sockets, 53 16-pin sockets, 2 24-pin and 1 40-pin. So it's quite nice that there's only really two different sizes. There's a couple of the bigger ones, of course, but mainly it's 14 and 16-pin sockets. So it does make it quite easy to obtain these. Very cheap to pick up, so well worth the extra expense of using sockets. It'll make the entire process much easier. Now, I keep saying this is a very large board, and as I said, the camera doesn't really get that across very well. So if I compare that to one of these, this is a board out of an Altair 8800, and these are quite large boards, and you can see that it's dwarfed next to the ADM card. So it's a very large board, a large number of components. It should be a lot of fun to work on, and it should certainly be a lot of fun to use if and when I can get it working. So the next step is to get the basic power supply components installed. So that will be the rectifiers, capacitors. And what I will do then is to check that there is the correct power going to each socket. Now, although this is meant to be fed with AC through two sockets, there's a socket over here and one here, and they're meant to be fed with AC. The one on this side is only for the CRT supply. This is a 15 volt supply that's used to power the display. I don't need that initially, so I'll leave those components out for now. It's mainly on this side that we need to get the main power connected. And as I say, although it's meant to run from AC, I will initially be powering it from a DC bench supply, so I can monitor the current and give some form of protection there. It doesn't matter that it's DC as long as I connect it the right way round. In fact, it won't make any difference which way around I connect it, because there's a bridge rectifier on the input, so as long as I get the power going to the right pins, it should work fine. I'll then get all the decoupling capacitors installed. That will actually be most of the discrete components in place, and then from that point on I'll move on to the clock generator, and we'll start seeing if we can get any life from the various parts of the circuit. So I fitted some of the basic components. I fitted all the 100 nanofarad decoupling caps, the large smoothing cap, bridge rectifiers, and I fitted the two RS232 sockets just to get those fitted, and it also helps me support the board. I fitted all the 5-volt regulators. Now there are 3 5-volt regulators on this board, and the 5-volt rails on their outputs are not connected together, so they're independent. Now unfortunately on these schematics it only ever says plus 5 volts, so that there's I think 13 of these sheets, and wherever we see a 5-volt indication, it doesn't actually say which of these 3 5-volt rails that is connected to. It just says plus 5 volts. So one of the first things I had to do when I started this project was go through the original board and check every single device, resistor IC, to see which of the 5-volt rails it was connected to, and as you can see here I color coded them, so I knew which device on the board was connected to which particular regulator, and I had to do that in order to be able to draw the schematics properly, because the CAD system needs to know what the actual connectors are. You can't just say plus 5 volt and be vague about it. It has to be exact, otherwise the CAD system won't let me make the connections. Or if it does, it will then connect all of the buses together, and I wouldn't be able to then lay out the board as it needed to be laid out. So once I'd done that, I knew which of the rails to connect each of the devices to, and I could check against the board layout that that was correct. And so what we have here are the 3 5-volt regulators. They've got a common feed, so they've got a bridge rectifier, this large smoothing cap, all feeding the input to all 3. And then what I can do now is look at my chart and see if we're getting 5 volts going to each of the ICs. Now because we've got a bridge rectifier on the input here, I'm connecting a DC value to the input of the bridge rectifier. So the 2 pins I've got these leads connected to are the AC input to this bridge rectifier, and that means it doesn't actually matter which way around I connect it. And in fact I will be trying it both ways round to make sure that the bridge rectifier is connected properly and it's all working as it should do. And so what I've got now is the power supply. The bench power supply this is connected to is set to 9 volts, current limit of 0.1 amps. We'll need to raise the current limit as we start to fit the ICs. But for now I've got a bare minimum components on here, so I'll power up the bench supply. You can't see it, but it's come up and it's currently showing 10 milliamps. So I'll bring in a meter, and the next step is to check that we have all 3 rails. So we'll go from ground, and we should have about 9 volts going into each of these inputs, less the 2 diode drops in the bridge rectifier. And these of course should all be the same, and then we should have around 5 volts on the output of each one. Which we do. So it's looking promising so far, no dead shorts, and we're getting 3 5-volt rails. What I will be doing now is going through every single IC socket and making sure that we have the correct voltages showing on the socket. So I'll be going from the ground pin on the socket up to positive, and you can see there we have 5 volts, and these are all TTL, so mostly it's just a known 2 pins, but for the memory ICs I'll have to be a bit more careful. And the reason I'm going from the ground pin to the plus pin on all the sockets rather than from a common ground is this is a brand new board layout, so I need to make sure that I've properly connected not just the positive rail but also the ground pin as well. So for example, if I hadn't connected the ground pin and I was probing from a common ground, and it would still read correctly, whereas if I read from the 2 power pins on the device itself, then I can be fairly certain that if it's showing the correct value, then I know that the device is properly connected as far as the power is concerned. So what I'll be doing is going through all the devices on all 3 rails, making sure that the power pins are correct. I'll then fit the remaining power supply components, so the ones that still need to be fitted. Look back at the diagram, so what we've got here at the moment is just this top section. We don't actually need this section. This is really only for the mask ROM. The -5 volt is for the mask ROMs. We don't need it on this board because we're not using them. But I have actually put the footprints down and connected these up. So if you do want to fit them to make the board look fully authentic, you can. I will be fitting it, and I will be testing the -5 volt supply. We then have the plus and minus 12 volt regulators, which are these 2 devices over here. They're the ones with a kind of starfish heatsinks. I'll fit those next. These 2 large capacitors here are the 2 I haven't yet fitted in this location. And then the bottom section is just the CRT supply. That's everything in this corner. And again, I will be fitting that even though I'm not using it at the moment, but I will be fully testing it and making sure everything works the way it should. Now once all this has been done, it's all been tested, and I know all the supplies are correct and going on to all the right locations on the board, then the next step is to start fitting actual components, and I'll do that starting in the next video. We'll start with the clock generator, work our way through the baud rate generator, making sure that all the baud rates are being correctly generated, and then work our way through the board, making sure that each of the circuit elements works the way it should. So as I say, we'll start that in the next video. That's it for this one. Comments welcome. If you want to see yet more detail, let me know. If you want to see less detail, then also let me know.